Hey guys,
And welcome to Petrol Ped.
and welcome to Cycle Sunday. Now then guys, welcome back to Cycle Sunday. I am here at Criterium Cycles with my Oppo, Mr. Paul Bowker.
Hello.
How are you, mate?
Very, very good.
Good. Now we have something shocking to talk about today.
E-bike gum.
E-bike gum.
Yes,
Yes, e-bikes.
e-bikes.
Now,
That's cheating.
that's my line.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, e-bikes are cheating. So I don't think anybody has kind of been able to avoid it's a bit of a kind of big thing the last few years, e-bikes.
The biggest growing sector in our industry.
Is that right? Wow.
Yes.
Now, I guess many of us, you might have an e-bike yourself. I've been on a ride, and I know when I was doing Mont Ventoux, and I've been on chewing my bar tape for about an hour and a half.
Yes.
You know, pulling along.
Yeah.
And I'm just about to get to the top, and this guy whizzed past on this e-bike, you know,
Yes.
beer belly, and
Yes.
I thought that's cheating. That
Uh-huh.
is. So. For me, e-bikes are a really interesting subject.
Yes.
Now we've got 3 e-bikes in front of us.
Yes.
So I thought it'd be really useful to go into this because, as you guys know by now, this man has an encyclopedic brain when it comes to all things bikes. But talking about e-bikes, oh my goodness me, there's a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought they were cheating and really expensive. That was the maximum amount of my knowledge.
As Peter has already established, the only thing that really makes me cross and riles me is when anybody comes in and says it's cheating and defeating the object. Because these things, for so many people and so many people's usage, is a transformational purchase.
Wow. Okay. Now, normally when you say things like that, it's backed up by some really, really interesting stuff. So,
Yes.
Where do we start? Should we start with this one?
I think
journey?
I think it's really important to start with where e-bikes have come from.
Yeah.
Why there's such price disparity.
Yeah.
So, flipping out, why can you get an e-bike for 700 quid and why can you get an e-bike for 10 grand? Let's unpack that for you, right?
Yeah.
What e-bike's going to be right for you? What do all the numbers mean?
Yeah.
What is an e-bike?
Yeah.
Really important.
Should we start though? Do e-bikes come from Yorkshire?
No.
Okay. So. Or Lancashire.
Actually, in fairness,
Right.
Orange Bikes,
Yeah.
shout out to them. We don't sell Orange Bikes, but they're a good company.
Yeah.
Orange Bikes are in Halifax in West Yorkshire, and they make e-bikes. So,
Mate, with a logo like that, you should be selling orange bikes, to be honest.
cut.
Yeah. We'll keep that one in. So, where do they come from then? Is this a good place to start the story in terms of genesis of e-bikes?
I think so. This is what I would call a second generation e-bike.
Yep.
So let's go right back down to sort of generation 1. We don't have one here because we're talking about bikes that were around 10 to 12 years old.
Yeah.
And what you have to bear in mind, that e-bikes started out by manufacturers. Now, it looks lovely on you, Peter, but it may be the wrong size.
Do you think all bikes are the wrong size for me makers have got such long legs?
Yes, but no. Basically, what you've got to bear in mind is that manufacturers didn't know how big e-bikes would be,
Yeah.
but they wanted to dip the toe. So e-bikes started out with traditional non-e-bikes,
Yeah.
because the technology and the bikes and the frames already were there. And then manufacturers started to lace motors into the rear wheel. And this is what we call a hub-driven e-bike.
Yeah.
Because it's the motor is in the rear hub.
Yeah.
And that got bolted into the bike. Then a pannier rack mounted onto the back of the bike with a battery on top. Join the two together. Run a cable to a controller, paint some lightning bolts on it. Hey,
And there you
presto,
go.
we've got the genesis of e-bike.
Yeah.
Then, as the popularity of e-bike starts to get bigger and bigger, then manufacturers are starting to pour more research and development money into it.
Yeah.
So now we're coming on to this bike here, which is what I would, and you can still buy these bikes brand new today, that bike is. And this is what I would call a Generation 2 e-bike. And what you have here is the basics of a traditional non-e-bike frame, but then with a modified bottom end of the bike where the motor is now centrally mounted directly to the cranks and the pedal system.
So this is the motor in here?
That's the motor in there, center mounted, so that the weight is low and it's centered in between the wheels. And most importantly, there is absolutely no take up between the cranks, the chain, the rear cassette before the motor kicks in. So there's no delay. It is instant, lovely soft start power. You tried it yesterday for the first time ever, and it's not like Roadrunner. It's not like woo, 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 body goes and the head follows. It's just this beautifully assisted feel that you get. So that's a center-driven motor, but as you can see, the battery is still mounted on the pannier rack to keep the cost of the bike down. And therefore, this bike here would be around £2,000.
Okay. A great commuter bike, I would have thought.
Great leisure bike, commuter bike, somebody who just wants to literally get some fresh air, but wants a little bit of extra assistance.
Now, here's the thing. So I had assumed, having never been near or ridden an e-bike until yesterday, that somewhere on the handlebars was a throttle, a twist or a thumb throttle, and that's where you got your power assistance from. How wrong I was.
Well, again, going right back a number of years, that's what some e-bikes were. But then, and I'll probably get the dates just a little bit wrong, but it was around 2017 where the law was finally passed that if it was a pedal-assisted e-bike, if you weren't pedaling it, it doesn't move. So there is no way that you can literally push a button and it whisks you along.
Freewheel along.
And freewheel along. That is classified as a moped. And that's what a moped is. So this is why we get so passionate, I'm not going to use enraged, we're going to use the word passionate about the fact that this is not cheating.
Because you've got to pedal.
If you're not pedaling it, it doesn't move.
So I get that bike. That bike is not for me aesthetically at all. But that's fine.
That's fine.
Let's move on to this one. Because there's quite a few differences on this one, both in terms of what it looks like, how it works, but also how much it costs.
So this bike here is what I would call the latest generation, or sort of Generation 3 e-bike, where this bike shares nothing with a non-e-bike. This has been built and designed from the ground up to be just one of the best e-bikes. And you know, you'll see it whether it's a hybrid bike like this, whether it's a mountain bike like this. All of the Generation 3 e-bikes, they have the center-driven motor that we see on the Gen 2 bikes, but now the batteries are fully integrated into the frame.
So this door here,
that is the battery pack that's in there. So again, all that weight, rather than having that battery weight up high, slung over the back of the bike, it's now integrated into the frame. The weight is lower, the weight is between the wheels. So the stability of these things is just wonderful to behold.
Can we nerd out on some numbers then? Because my knowledge of electric vehicles is pretty good. And when you get into electric cars, you instantly start talking about battery pack size in terms of kilowatt hours and motor power and torque and those types of things. And it's exactly the same with an e-bike. Just the way that the numbers are described is a little bit different.
So the one commonality with e-bikes is the fact that it's embedded in law. So, and this is what's so confusing for consumers. Because every single electric motor on every single e-bike, irrespective of whether it's a 700 quid bike or a 10 grand e-bike, says that the motor power is 250 watts.
Yeah.
What is a watt? Okay, a watt is just a unit of power.
Yeah.
Okay, and me as a squishy organic engine, I am generating personally around 230, 240 watts of power. That is my, I won't get nerdy on this, but that's what my FTP is.
Yeah.
Now, I weigh about 85 to 90 kilos, depending on what day it is.
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
So, my engine that's generating 230, 240 watts of power has a weight penalty of around 85 to 90 kilos. And for anybody who says, but aren't the e-bikes heavy? The engine and the battery add approximately 8 to 10 kilos for a traditional e-bike setup.
Yeah.
Yet the engine is developing 250 watts of power.
So that's like, to try and use my simple brain,
Yes?
that would be like if you were sat on the back of the pannier rack
Yes.
and you were helping me push the pedals
Yes.
along, it would be like me having you helping me pedal,
Yes.
but you only weigh 8 or 9 kilos.
Correct. So that actually makes these bikes, from a power to weight perspective,
Yeah.
some of the lightest bikes on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah? Because if I'm generating 230 watts of power, jump on this bike through the cranks, I've got 400 and, a lot of watts, a lot of power.
Okay.
So that's the thing. So every motor has got 250 watts of assisted power. And then there are various modes that you can choose to cap that power to preserve a bit of range and battery life.
Yeah. So in terms of the battery,
Yes.
so again, it comes back to it's the same as an electric vehicle, actually
Yes.
the same as a petrol or diesel car.
Yes, yes.
The harder you drive, the more power you consume. So if you went round and used those 250 watts flat out all the time, you're
Yes.
going to drain the battery quicker
Correct.
than if you only used 100 of them.
Correct. And that's why, just like the fuel tank capacity in a car, you've got fuel tank capacities for your batteries.
Yeah.
So they're calculated in watt hours.
Yes.
So you'll see on some bikes it'll have a 250 watt hour battery, a 300, 400, 500, 625 watt hour battery. Don't get confused, it's the size of the fuel tank.
Yeah. So a 250 watt hour battery,
Yes?
if that's a 250 watt motor, if you ran that flat out, it would last an hour.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and then you do the math. So if it's a 650 watt hour battery, you divide 650 by 250, run it flat out, that's how many.
Yes.
But you very rarely run them flat out, right?
No. You very rarely run them flat out. And this is the thing, is the fact that if you think about the times that you go and ride any bike, the amount of times that you're actually freewheeling and coasting and going downhill and got a tailwind, so you're riding to the legally governed speed limit of an e-bike, which is 25 kilometers an hour or 15 and a half miles an hour, then the one thing that we rarely get asked is, we always get asked at the beginning, at the purchase stage, what's my range? But when you've bought a bike and come in for the 6-week tune-up, the thing we never hear is, I love my bike, but I wish it had more range.
Yeah.
And the reason being is that e-bikes are self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yeah.
Because the more you ride your bike, the lighter and fitter and stronger you become,
Yeah.
the less energy the motor and the battery system depends on, so the further the range you'll get. And the beauty about an e-bike is that every ride is a good ride.
Yeah. You never have that. When you get out on your bike and the first, half hour, 40 minutes, your legs are dead and
Yes.
you feel rubbish
Yes.
and you're just not enjoying it at all.
No.
And then suddenly you start warming up into it.
Yes,
With this, that doesn't happen.
that doesn't happen. It's one of the, exactly. So what an e-bike does, in summary, and if you take nothing away from this video, this is the point of an e-bike.
Yeah.
An e-bike basically gets you over the thought of riding your bike. Of course, another 250 watts of power in your legs is going to help you on the hills. It's going to help you in a headwind. Of course it is. But what an e-bike does is gets you over the thought of riding your bike, which gets you out more, which gets you fitter, and gets you enjoying the fresh air and excitement. And boy, am I passionate about that.
I can tell, mate,
Thank
to
you.
be honest.
Yes.
So the other thing, I guess a couple of things is, when you're riding one of these,
Yes.
there are limits in terms of not just, we've talked about the power, but the speed as well.
Yes. So again, we touched on it, but it's really important to focus. So a UK pedal assisted e-bike, so it then doesn't fall into the moped laws or what's now called the speed pedelec laws. That then means that it has to be licensed and you have to take a test and all those sorts of things. The maximum speed limit is 25 kilometers an hour or 15.5 miles an hour. Now, that is just the governed speed limit of the engine. So when the engine cuts, it doesn't mean that at 25 kilometers an hour or 15.5 miles an hour, the bike suddenly stops moving forward beyond that speed. You can pedal it to 50 kilometers an hour, just like your non-pedal assisted e-bike. But the top and bottom of the engine is governed to that speed.
Okay. So I like that. And interestingly, Mrs. Petrolped is super keen on getting one of these.
Yes.
Because the other nice thing is, at the moment, we don't really go out on rides together. Because generally speaking, on the flat, I'm faster than she is, and going up hills, I'm faster than she is, just because I've been cycling for longer. Okay. But if she was on one of these, then that would even itself out. And on the hills, we'd probably be about the same, and we'd just be able to cycle together and and actually go out and enjoy cycling together.
No, you're dreaming.
Oh.
You wouldn't know which way she went.
Right, she's definitely not having one of these then.
When was the last time you went up a 14 to 15% gradient at 25 kilometers an hour with a massive grin on your face? Should I help you answer that?
Yeah.
Never.
What, even on my new bike?
No. But that's the point, right? It's just
So okay, so when she gets to the top of the hill, and once I've been the wheezy old man, caught her up, then coming down the other side, I'll catch her up.
Well, possibly. But then you've also got a bike that also has a little bit more weight, a little bit more stability. And it's one of those things. It could be a close run thing.
She doesn't like going down.
No. So, but the top and bottom of it is, you're absolutely right. It bridges this gap between two fitnesses of rider, and it just opens up so much more. And in fact, e-bikes are the bikes that we sell in pairs the most.
I can imagine actually. I can imagine.
So that'll be two.
He's a good salesman, this guy. So that really nice looking bike, again though, not for me, but Mrs. Petrolped would love that. That thing, however, that's a weapon.
Yes. It is no better or worse than that.
No.
It's just a different bike for a different use. And completely. This bike here is absolutely perfect. It's a hybrid. We've been through this in our how to buy a bike videos. Do watch that. But these hybrids are absolutely brilliant. Backcountry roads, tracks, paths, cycle lanes, cycle paths, commute to work, leisure riding. Amazing, absolutely brilliant, really reliable, really bulletproof. However, this bike here, just like in a non-e-bike sense, if you were looking for something to go and do a little bit more off-road trail work, and particularly where you live as well.
Yeah, in South Downs.
In the South Downs, with those lovely sort of chalk trails, lovely long climbs, open moorland, and then nice flowy descents.
Yeah.
Something like this would suit you well.
You don't have to try very hard, mate, to sell it to me, to be honest, because
No.
that looks like a really cool thing.
Yeah, it's a lovely bike. Lovely bike.
Now, just a quick one, maintenance costs?
Great question. So what you've got to bear in mind is the only thing about an e-bike that is different to a non-e-bike is the fact that it's got an engine instead of a traditional bottom bracket and a battery.
Yeah.
Everything else is normal bike.
Okay.
So chain, cassette, derailleur, wheel, tyre, saddle, seat post, handlebar, stem, gear selector, suspension components if it's got it, mud guards, pannier racks, all of those things is normal bike.
Yeah, okay.
So we can service these things just as from our normal parts supply that we have in our workshops, and also our technicians here, we're a Bosch certified technical centre, as well as also doing German motor brand Futsua on the e-road bikes, and also Shimano as well.
Okay. So they sealed unit, in terms of the motor and stuff, they're pretty much like sealed?
Completely sealed units.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now then, I don't know whether we talked about price.
Yes.
But we probably should do.
Yes.
So what's your, I guess it's much like many bikes, I guess there's depends on a lot of things like spec of components and things.
Indeed.
But what kind of money are we looking at?
So, as we've discovered, as we discussed, the e-bike here, centre-driven motor and battery mounted in a pannier rack.
Yeah.
That battery is a 300 watt-hour battery, so quite a small battery pack.
Yep.
And the engine is 250 watts of power with 40 newton meters of torque.
Okay.
And to just unpack that will send an average weight, average fitness rider quite happily up an 8 to 12% gradient, fully assisted, happy days.
Yeah.
So there's enough grunt in the motor to be able to do that. And that bike's coming in at around sort of £1,900.
Okay.
So under the £2,000 price point. Moving into this is next but top of the range in this particular range, which is called the Trek Elant. It's available in various frame styles, so this is the traditional top tube version, but you can get step-through designs just like in the bike here for just ease of access. And this bike has got the biggest battery that Bosch currently make, which is a 625 watt-hour battery.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a mathematician to note that that is twice the capacity of that one.
Yes.
So therefore the cost has to rise.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's got a big battery is the fact that the engine is what's called a Performance CX motor from Bosch, which is 250 watts of power, but 85 newton meters of torque.
Now that, just to put that into perspective, that is a third, maybe a quarter of what you'd expect in a normal road car.
From zero revs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my Mini's got 400 newton meters of torque.
There you go.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah,
and where that 400 newton meters is produced is in quite a narrow band of its rev range.
Yeah.
This is in turbo, this is 85 newton meters of torque every single pedal stroke at however speed your pedal rotations are going. Ain't no mountain high enough. There's a song in there somewhere.
Let's not sing that.
No. So therefore, because this motor has got virtually twice the grunt of that one to get you up steeper, longer hills.
Hit us with it.
It's got a bigger battery capacity.
Yeah.
And therefore, this particular bike is double the price of that. So this one here is £4,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, really great value for money. But they also, in the Elant range, they do the Elant 5 and the Elant 7. So similar engines, slightly smaller batteries, different levels of components starting at around £3,000. So the model range is huge.
3 to 4 grand.
3 to 4 grand. So this video is an overview about e-bikes, but the range is massive.
Yeah.
This bike here, we're getting into a full suspension mountain bike. Now, interestingly, this bike is a couple of £100 less expensive than this one.
Really?
Yes, and the reason being it has the same engine and the same battery capacity.
Yeah.
But this particular model is the entry-level version to this model range. So this model range goes up and up and up to a little over £5,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow, mate.
Yes.
So what I do need to say is, if you've never ridden an e-bike, and even if you are like me, a real kind of e-bikes are cheating, and they're really super expensive. I rode this round the car park yesterday for like 3 minutes, and I came back with the biggest smile on my face, and I just went around the car park. In fact, I was screaming like a banshee for most of it, because it just completely blew me away.
Yes.
They are amazing, amazing things, and I don't have that cheating thing about it at all in mind. I totally get it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's a really interesting proposition, and especially I think if I guess what we haven't talked about is, you know, if you might have an injury that means you can't, you know, fully go out on a road bike. Maybe you've got a poor knee or a bad hip or something.
Peter, you're embarking on something which is really important. Who buys these bikes?
Yes.
Who have we sold these bikes to?
Yes.
Everybody.
Yeah, okay.
Young people, old people, really fit cyclists. I've not ridden a bike for 20 years and really want to get a bike and go out and ride a bike. I want to sell a second car and commute to work.
Yeah.
I want to do my bit for the environment. I don't want to go on public transport.
Yeah.
There is so many mountain bikers. I want to do 2 laps of my local trail centre in the same time as I would have done 1 lap.
Yeah, because I always joke, when I go out on my road bike, I quite happily do, I don't know, 50 miles, 60 miles, 70 miles.
Yeah.
I go on my mountain bike where I live, and you know, if you do 20 miles on your mountain bike, you are absolutely destroyed.
Yes.
Got one of them, you could
go and do 30 or 40.
30 or 40 miles, and see the countryside and have that.
Yes.
That half a day, 3/4 of a day.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And
am I becoming an evangelist for e-bikes?
You need to be, right? Everybody needs to ride these things. And the analogy that we gave yesterday was the travelator at an airport.
Yes, I like that one actually.
So imagine being at an airport.
What's one of those?
What's one of those? Yeah. But you've got a travelator, and next to it you've got your walkway. If you walk at the same speed on the travelator as you do on the walkway, you are burning the same number of calories. However, on the travelator, you are also going faster because of the speed of the travelator. So you get to the end faster. So whilst you've got the option of standing on the travelator and not burning any calories, you don't. You go on the travelator and you walk. You go further, you get to the plane faster, you've got a bigger smile on your face. Welcome to e-bike ownership.
This is a travelator.
It's a travelator.
What a great place to finish.
Indeed.
So guys, I hope you've enjoyed that. I mean, I got talking to Paul about e-bikes while we were doing the build on the Ultra XR4, and I thought this is just a great topic, and let's cover it. So please put in the comments below any questions you've got. We'd love to hear them.
Yes.
But I hope you've enjoyed that one. If you've got an e-bike, tell us about your experience. We'd love to know what you think of your e-bike.
Yes.
And maybe if you were thinking about one, maybe this has just given you that little push to maybe contact Paul up here in Criterium Cycles, or go to your local bike shop and go on to see about e-bike ownership.
Yeah, and all of our e-bikes of what we have in stock and are coming are on www.criteriumcycles.co.uk.
Good plug.
Thank you.
Anyway guys, make sure you like, share and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode of Cycle Sunday.
We're looking forward to it now.
Already, mate, already.
Yes.
Anyway guys, you take care. Ride safe.